It gives a whole new meaning to the idea of going down swinging. I was talking to my son, Elias, the other night after I came home from the prayer vigil for Tyree Nichols that was held at Morning Star Baptist Church here in North Tulsa. And if you know my son, Elias, he loves many things about black culture, especially the music, particularly hip-hop, but also the fashion and the slang and much more. And I asked him, do you know the difference between being a consumer of black culture and of the products of black culture versus being someone who not only appreciates black culture, but who also stands with black people in the long struggle for equality? I was proud of him. He gets it. Elias gets it. And we discussed how America, too, as a nation, does this. When America likes to take credit for being the home of distinctive musical traditions like the spirituals and jazz and blues and hip-hop and everything in between, including, many people don't realize, some of the most famous and important classical music ever created in the United States, music known worldwide as America's distinctive contribution to classical music. I'm talking about pieces such as Dvorak's From the New World Symphony, the classical compositions of Louis Moreau-Gottschalk, Louisiana composer who infused West African syncopation into his symphonies, causing Europe to laud America's distinctive contribution to the genre with deep respect. Can you imagine if I have this fantasy that until we get American history, black history to be part of all American history, we should relegate that we can only listen to black music for 1 month out of the year. And the shortest month of the year, no less, in February. But, if we did that, we can only listen for 1 month of the year until we're ready to incorporate black music into, black history into all of our history, because it's part and parcel of everything that is America and its story. But if we limited our musical listening to only 1 month, our lives would be much less wonderful, I have to think. At the same time that America has enjoyed the recognition for these profound musical traditions, America has inadequately supported the people and the communities from which this disproportionate amount of musical genius has come, often even failing to give credit or fairly compensate the artists. A lot of people consume and appreciate black culture without appreciating and supporting black people. Here's a great example. Cornel West tells the story of being in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 during the Unite the Right rally. Remember that? He and other counter-protesters walked past a large field where the marchers were gathering, and it was filled with members of the alt-right, neo-Confederates, neo-fascists, white nationalists, neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klanners, and far-right militias. They had torches and were carrying swastikas and other iconography of racial violence. He described walking past them and hearing them playing Motown music over a loudspeaker. They like the music, they just don't like the people who created it. It's very American, in fact. And it compels me to try to answer the question this morning. How do we keep from hating even when we are so justified in doing it? And I think that black history and black music has a lot to teach us in this regard. Let's go back 1 week to last Sunday when my beloved colleague over here, Randy Lewis, explained so eloquently from this little stage that black is not so much a color as it is an experience. From the standpoint of DNA and genetic science, race is a fiction. It's a story that we tell about ourselves and one another. It's not real in any scientific sense at all, but it is real in a social sense. In America, American society, it is often the difference that makes a difference. And as I listened to Randy last week, talking about some of the ways that our culture has repeatedly and systematically denigrated blackness, I found myself wondering with Dr. Cornel West, how is it that people who've been racialized black in America have faced atrocity and theft and domination and violence, and yet have continually produced generation after generation some of the most powerful love warriors, leaders, and artists who've taken catastrophe and atrocity and fashioned from it expressions of profound dignity and possibility, acts of great courage and imagination. I'm talking about people who, with every reason not to, have embodied the prayer, where there is hatred, let us sow love. These love warriors, people like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and Frances Ellen Watkins Harper and Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth and Fannie Lou Hamer and Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis and Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison and James Cone and so many others. Like the blues itself, which is not just a musical style, it's a form of artistic rebellion and survival. As long as we're still singing, then despair does not have the last word. Blues has the ability to transmute painful circumstances into something that will cause you to tap your foot and to stir your soul. Like the blues singers, these love warriors remind us that as long as we're still loving, hatred will not have the last word. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote the seminal book in 1903 called The Soul of Black Folks. Today, I want to talk about black music and the soul. It's quite fascinating as Juana Bordas explains that the people who were brought to America under the premise that they had no soul and therefore could be treated less than human, like animals, transported in the hulls of ships, sold, owned, whipped, would come to be known most distinctively for soul, soul food, soul sister, soulful music, for the civil rights movement, which was nothing if it was not a fight for the soul of this nation, America. The story of American black history is in part the story of a people fighting for the recognition of their soul. And in the process, this struggle has been helping to redeem the soul of America itself. And when this struggle helps those of us who've been racialized as white, like myself, to overcome the deep-seated messages of superiority, then the struggle for the recognition of the souls of black folks will result in the healing of our own soul. The mindset that allows one group of people to deny and denigrate the soul of another group of people has the effect of degrading the souls of the ones doing the denying. To put it another way, if I deny you your humanity, I have no power to diminish your humanity. But the very act of doing it diminishes mine. If I deem you 3/5 of a human being, it doesn't make you less human. It makes me inhumane. I'm dehumanized by my own bigotry, not you. Now, I've been asked many times over the years why someone like me is so committed to equal rights of people of all ethnicities and gender identities and nationalities, sexualities, religions, abilities, and everything else. And I explain that it's not just because I want to be part of the struggle for other people's humanity, but because I need to do it as part of the struggle for my own full humanity. And in that sense, it's not an act of service, it's an act of solidarity. Now, I trust that if you're listening, either here or online, that you're in your own journey, on your own journey to actualize your own life's purpose and to actualize your full humanity in your own story. Which brings me back to the main question of the morning, which is, how do we keep from hating when we have so many good reasons to do so? Booker T. Washington said, "I will permit no man to narrow and degrade my soul by making me hate him." Coretta Scott King echoed these words through the ages when she said, "Hate is too great a burden to bear. It injures the hater more than it injures the hated." And James Baldwin reflected, "I imagine one of the reasons that people cling to their hates so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain." So much of African American music deals with pain and turns it into art, turns it into a form of communication, turns it into an expression of the movement and the need for freedom. Prince said, "Instead of hate, celebrate." Grandmaster Flash said, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head." He said, "It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under." This is more than a dance beat. He's not just spitting bars. It's an attempt to interrupt domination and hatred. It's a successful attempt to make sure that despair and hate do not have the last word. Now, it's hard because hatred is so compelling for all of us. I'm guessing you might hate Donald Trump or maybe Joe Biden. I don't know. You might hate Tucker Carlson or AOC or MTG. By hating them, we feel connected to half of the electorate. And we like feeling like we're on the right side of history. Righteousness is stimulating and toxic. Now, if politics does not move you to hate, maybe you felt it through a breakup or a custody battle or towards a coworker or a former boss. Writer Anne Lamott admits, "Loathing certain people steadies me." It helps define us. It's easy to hate a bully, a person who mocks and threatens others who are more vulnerable than them, people who are cruel to animals or to children. Of course, we feel some hate for such a person. Or the teacher who made you feel dumb or small, the parent or step-parent who shamed you or hit your mother or your brother Or you? How about those protesters in Charlottesville or on January 6th? Or the ones who flew the planes into the towers on September 11th? We can justify our hate. This is not an issue of justification. It's an issue of the soul. Today, I'm suggesting that we learn something from the musicians and other love warriors who have emerged from the experience of being racialized as black in America. People who have had every justification to hate, but at their best, chose instead to follow Du Bois' challenge, as Dr. West says, to face oppression with integrity, to face deception with honesty, to face insult with decency, and to face brute force with courage. Because they knew hate is too great a burden to bear, because it injures the hater more than the hated. When we act from hate, we are cut off from the best parts of ourselves. Hate creates a wall between us and the better angels of our nature, a chasm between us and our higher self. Because our higher self knows that every soul is as precious as my own. Every soul. The child in Iraq, in Palestine, in Afghanistan, in Sudan, on the border of Mexico. Every life is as precious as my own. So here's what I'm suggesting that we do. If you have a pen, this would be the time to take some notes. Sit with your hate. You don't have to pretend it's not there. Sit with your hate. Listen to it. It wants you to hear its pain. Acknowledge it. Let it know it's justified and understandable. Then, find a way to get on with your life without carrying around and being filled with hate. Dance. Listen to music. Make love in any of its many forms. Redirect the feelings into acts of creation or into a cause that you believe in. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Remember that those we hate were probably not born racist or mean or violent, but something happened to them. They were perhaps raised by someone whose soul was broken, or they were hurt by someone. If they're acting that way, then they have empty, hurting hearts. And when we hate them back, then our hearts grow emptier and more broken. Anne Lamott, in her book, Almost Everything, says, we are right to feel worried, scared of the future, of our democracy, of the environment, but hate will destroy us from the inside. She says, I don't want my life's ending to be that I was toxic and self-righteous. And I don't know if my last day will be next Thursday or in 20 years. So the time to stop hating is now. Now, many African American artists and leaders have shown us that it's possible to transfigure our hate and despair into love for others as part of a cause called the struggle for freedom, which includes freedom from hate. So next time you're having trouble with it, turn on the music of one of America's love warriors, like John Coltrane, or Ma Rainey, or heck, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. In fact, let's hear Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five for a second.
So don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
All right, so in these trying times, try to keep your head and save your soul. I love you.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long